starting with my emblem, the squares that you see in the front of the box. Now you don't have to start here. You can start at any point you'd like, but I thought this would be more fun. I'm using polymer clay to sculpt the emblem. I'll be using these clay tools to cut out my boxes, my emblem. Now you use one size to cut out the shape of a square, and then use the size down from it to cut out the center so that you have an opening in the square. And do the same thing for the smaller squares. You need a total of 5 squares here, 1 large and then 4 small. So once you have all of your shapes cut, you're gonna take the 4 larger shapes, line them up together in a shape of a large square. Then take your medium cutting tool and you're just gonna cut out the inside of that shape, basically cutting off the 4 corners of each of the squares. Let's see how this looks. That's looking good. So let's put this larger square in place to make sure everything fits. And I noticed that my lines on the smaller squares aren't meeting in the exact place, so I just cut off a little clay until I'm satisfied with how it looks. Once the clay meets my satisfaction, I go ahead and separate all parts and then put it in the oven to bake following the manufacturer's instructions. For the box, I'm using a foam board from the Dollar Tree, and then 1 foam board will be large enough for 1 box. I'm out on ZGallerie's website to get the exact dimensions on the box. They have a set of 2 for $59, and I'm going to be making the larger of the 2. So the dimensions I found is 13 by 5 in width, 7.75 in depth, and 6.75 in height. So I'm going to do 13 by 7 by 6. Now that I have my dimensions, I'm measuring and cutting out the pieces for this box. I need 2 for every piece that I cut out. Once I had all of my pieces cut out, I set the top and bottom, or the larger 2 of the pieces, aside, and I focused on my sides and end pieces that you see here. As you can see, there's no lid yet. Unfortunately, ZGallerie did not include that information in their dimensions, so I had to figure out what would be a good placement for the lid, and I figured 2 inches was the perfect proportion. I measured 2 inches on the end and side pieces, and then I cut it off. Listen up, guys. Make sure that when you cut a straight line. I didn't do this on some pieces, and it totally made a difference. I'll show you what I mean later. Now, once you get everything cut, you want to go ahead and cut 45-degree angles on each piece. On the ends and the side pieces, you're going to cut 3 45-degree angle sides, but on the top and bottom, you're going to cut all 4 sides. But these are the pieces that you need, 2 of everything. Now, as I was saying, you want to cut the 45-degree angle on 3 sides of every piece except for the top and bottom. So notice 3 sides have a 45-degree angle, but the top and the bottom of the box will have all 4 sides cut in a 45-degree angle. So once you have all your pieces cut out, you can go ahead and assemble the box. I am using hot glue. I glue the bottom edges together first, and then I come back and glue the corners. Important, guys, when you are assembling your box, make sure that you're lining those edges up as perfect as possible. If you do not, you will have overlapping edges and it will make your box look a little sloppy. I didn't do this on some parts, and I will show you that later. Once you're done assembling, go ahead and fill in all of those corners with hot glue. Now here's the assembled lid and bottom. And notice here that section I was just talking about where I didn't line up my edges correctly. You see that white area where the paper overlaps? This will be seen when I finish the box, so you want to try to avoid this. Now I'm about to apply the gold leaf, and I tried to use this spray adhesive found at the Dollar Tree, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a bad can, but this stuff wasn't tacky at all. So I decided to try a glue stick from the Dollar Tree. It does work. The gold leaf does adhere to it. The only thing is it's a slow process and it requires some patience. In the end, I went ahead and used some spray adhesive that I had around the house. This worked out fine for me because I just needed to get this done. So guys, right at this moment, my camera and my light both fell on me. I have like two cameras. One is right on top of me in the light. And I had already sprayed the adhesive, so I had to get it done. So I'm holding everything up with one hand while I apply this foil. Crazy. Now that everything's back in place, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the gold leaf. Now I did run into some complications, some issues, and I'll share that with you a little later. So I've set the gold leaf box aside to dry, but look at this guys. With all of the excitement of my camera and light falling, I forgot these were in the oven and they burned. Luckily I'm going to be painting over it so it will be okay. But I'm separating everything and then I'm going to go ahead and assemble it the way I would like to see it. I completely forgot to cut the larger square in half when I was sculpting it, but that's okay. I'll do that now with my utility knife. Also, I noticed that some of the smaller pieces weren't lined up correctly, so I can reshape those with my knife as well. I'm using silver fingernail polish from the Dollar Tree to paint my emblem, and it worked out perfectly. So my gold leaf boxes are dry and ready to be cleaned up. Notice I used a lot more gold leaf on the lid than I did the bottom part of the box, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Go ahead and use a paper towel, a cloth, a paintbrush, or even your fingers to clean this off. Just rub it gently and all of the loose, excess gold leaf that's not adhered to the box will fall right off. Now take a look at the mistake I was talking about earlier, guys. You see the black that's showing through from the foam board? That's where the glue, or either it wasn't glue there or it did not adhere properly. And this is what caused me to use so much gold leaf paper on the lid. Now on the larger box, I actually spray painted a light coat of gold paint first, which helped a lot because if there were places where the gold leaf didn't adhere, you couldn't tell because there was gold spray paint underneath it. I wish I would have done that for the whole thing. I highly suggest you do that because it will help you out a lot. So to cover the black spots, I basically have to spray more adhesive, apply more gold leaf. The gold leaf application is now done. Now is the time to apply the felt on the inside of the box. I measure the felt by just setting the box on top and then getting a measurement that way. The felt isn't quite as long as the box, which is okay. I'll just use a separate little piece and join it together. And you can barely see it. If you press firmly into the corners of the box, you get like a faint indentation. It's like a guideline as to where to cut. I'm using my spray adhesive to glue down the felt inside the box. Just make sure your felt is lined up right against the edge of the box so that you don't have any gaps. Cut off any excess and here you have it. Follow the same steps for the sides of the box as well. In all, I used about 5 33-cent felt sheets. Cut off the excess felt at the top of the box. You want to clearly see the top brim of the box. And this is how it looks, guys. I'm using a permanent marker to shade in any of the exposed foam that's left out from this. Here's the box. And here's the bottom. Now for the hinges. I'll be using 2 hinges for this project. So remember I told you I was going to share some issues with cutting the foam board. Because I did not cut my pieces as straight as possible, I now have this gap right here. I noticed it, but I didn't think it was going to make that big of a difference, and I kept going, but try to avoid this if possible. Because it's just this spot, I'm able to conceal my gap in the back, and it's okay. I'm lining up where I want my hinge to go. I just eyeballed this, and then I took a Sharpie and I'm marking in the screw hole of the top and bottom part of the hinge, just so that I can remember or have a place mark of where these will go back. Then I'm using hot glue to install the hinge. I'm being careful not to cover up my marks. This part is totally optional, but it helps make the box look more realistic. I'm going to go ahead and glue in my screws. So I apply a little bit of hot glue, and then I take the screw and push it through, making sure that I don't puncture the felt on the inside. I follow the same steps to install the lid. And here are my installed hinges. We are at the final stretch, guys. Thank you for sticking around this long. If you are enjoying this so far, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Please, I appreciate it. And I tell you what, just subscribe. I love you. I need you here. So let's go ahead and get this emblem applied. I'm using hot glue to put it in place, and I just eyeballed the center. All of the other pieces, I want to dry fit them first and then go ahead and hot glue them in place. Remember that the top half of that emblem will go on the lid portion. So that's the part that I'm installing now. And there you have it. Our Ming box is complete. It opens and closes. This was a fun project. There was a lot of mishaps that I wish didn't happen, but that's what I'm here for, so that you don't make the same mistakes on your project. In all, I'm completely happy with how this turned out. I think it's so cute. Okay, now hold on. Now I realize that gold leafing can be expensive and a bit time consuming. So all of you guys who are screaming, "Ain't nobody got time for that," I got you. So I have these different gold mediums around the house, and I wanted to try them out to give you guys some options. First up, we have the gold metallic spray paint. Nice and glossy, I like this one. Then we have the rub and buff classic gold. This is one of my favorites too. Next we have the liquid gold leaf. I didn't really like this one too much. And finally the gold leaf, which looks most like the ZGallerie Ming box. So I hope those options are helpful. I'm all about making this project as inexpensive as possible. Guys, this box looks so dope in my dining room. I am loving it. I added this vase with these cute pink flowers on top because everything looks so much better with a pop of pink. I decided to take it a little bit further and make this box functional, so I added some of my napkin rings inside. So do you think it's a project that you might try? If so, go ahead and leave a comment below and tag me on any picture that you share, because I'm nosy. I want to see. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up, but be sure to like this video and subscribe. And until next time, take care.